Hi, so today I want to talk about the series of books called the Bobiverse, and specifically book 4, which is called Heaven's River, which I've just finished. The Bobiverse series is written by Dennis E. Taylor, and I listened to the Audible version read by Ray Porter. I think these are a fun series of books that cover a lot of ideas with regards to the ethics of AI and what it truly means to be human. The overall series follows a man named Bob, who is the first successful human replicant. Basically, there are others, but he's the main one. That he doesn't lose his mind. He follows his task that he was given and essentially helps humanity survive their own apocalypse. Interestingly enough, the kind of interactions between Bob and humanity aren't the main driving force, or at least I wouldn't consider it to be. They have a very interesting way of replicating, where Bob will clone himself and then has essentially creates siblings who are very similar to him, but eventually do change as the generations go on. This is maybe my only real complaint with this series of books, is that I personally sometimes find it a bit confusing to know who was who. In the books themselves, Bob, the main character, doesn't even know who certain people are because there's been so many of them, and he leaves and comes back. So the confusion and the confusing nature of this is kind of built into the story. But I did find that every now and again, it would be a little hard to follow who exactly was who and what their priorities were. However, this specific book also used some other characters, such as Bridget, who were are other replicants that live alongside Bob. And the writing style is very humorous, and it worked for me. I did find it quite funny, but I could imagine that if you do not get along with the style of comedy, it would be a slog and may just not be worth following on. So I can definitely see that that is a double-edged sword. If you do enjoy it, like myself, it adds a level of relief to what can sometimes be quite dark encounters. This latest book is called Heaven's River and is essentially a heist or a rescue mission, but it also deals with the long-term ethical implications of artificial intelligences and life forms interacting with organic civilizations and what that means on both sides. To summarize, this is a very good series of books. Currently there are 4 out, and I marathoned through the first 3 like instantly, and then waited for this latest release has just come out. I will say that I find certain elements of the series more interesting. I enjoy Bob in particular, who is the main character, and his interactions with certain species such as the Deltans and what that means. It's one of my favorite parts of it is the length of time these things take. The books span hundreds of years, and you get to see civilizations kind of grow and fall, and you get to meet characters and see their entire life play out, and then their following generations, and if some of them decide to become replicants themselves, and what that has and how the societies change. I have thoroughly enjoyed these books. I would recommend them to anyone who has an interest in sci-fi, ethics, philosophy, anything of this nature. But that can sound a bit heavy, and to be honest, when you're reading this, it's very comedic and enjoyable. It feels quite light-hearted, even though they deal with seriously heavy topics. This has been a very different style of book. I can see these books being quite divisive, not necessarily in the topics, but more in the delivery. And if you think the subjects themselves sound of interest to you, I would definitely check out the first book and see if the writing style suits you, because if it does, they are very enjoyable and are a very easy read.